Hi, this is Chrissy Hutzel from Hutzel House of Music, and I'm here to talk to you today about classroom management strategies for elementary music. This is a pre-recorded session for the Music Crew Virtual Conference 2024. Today's schedule is jam-packed with goodness, so I hope you'll stick around and catch all of these amazing sessions after mine today. We hope that this conference meets your needs for professional development. If you are a teacher in Michigan, we are so excited to share that thanks to the Michigan Kodai educators, we're able to offer sketches for attending these presentations live. To get your sketches, you must watch the sessions live and leave a comment on each Facebook post, whether it's a live video or pre-recorded. Please do not comment on the YouTube video post. It needs to be on the Facebook post. Fill out the PIC form when the conference ends, and then fill out the State of Michigan form when you get it. For everybody else, we have a PD certificate for you. After you've watched all of the sessions, head over to our virtual exhibit hall on the Music Crew website and download the certificate. Links for both of these can be found in the Music Crew Collaborative, as well as in my handout for the session, which is on TPT at Hutzel House of Music. It's a free download. You can search hashtag Music Crew Conference 2024 on TPT to find all of our handouts easily. Although this video is pre-recorded, I will be hanging out in the Music Crew Collaborative during my session time to chat and answer questions. If you're watching this later, you can still leave any questions and comments there, and I'll respond to them when I get the chance. So let's get started. Classroom management is so much more than just a behavior system with rewards and consequences. Today we will cover reducing unwanted behaviors through engaging lessons and clear expectations, a clear and easy-to-use system for keeping classes on top of their own behavior, and big picture ideas to implement outside of your classroom that can impact what happens inside your classroom. So let's start with reducing unwanted behaviors through engaging lessons and clear expectations. This will include having a common language with the other teachers in your school, following through with what you say, having smooth transitions in your lesson plans, having clear expectations for our students, and the use of a rest area for students who need it. A common language is so important and so helpful. When I first started teaching, I had lots of teachers who were using different classroom management strategies in their homerooms, and they would come to me with these sorts of questions. Did my class earn any points today? Did anyone in my class lose any feathers? I hope my class didn't get tallies. How many marbles can we add to our jar? What compliments did we earn? All of these were working great in their own classroom, but when you have so many classes coming to you, it's hard to keep track of who's doing what. Having a common language allows all of the teachers in the school to work together and have the same expectations. It's less confusing for the kids and for the teachers. In my building, we use the Safety, Ownership, Attitude, Respect acronym, which is SOAR. That is our PBIS acronym. So we expect students to soar all around the building. When they go around the building, we have posters like the one that you see here. This is the one for the music room, but all around the building, we have them with the different ways to soar in each of the different areas. So there's a different one for the art room, for the library, for the classrooms, for the hallways, for the restrooms, for the playground, for the cafeteria. Every place has a different soaring behavior expectation poster. They all look the same and they have a lot of wording in common so students know where to look and what to expect and what is expected of them. When you give rules, it's important that you're able to follow through with them. So for example, there could be a rule, if you don't take turns, you will lose your recess. So that puts you into a situation where if a student is fighting over a tambourine with another student and you have that as a rule, then you really need to take away their recess. And that's something that can sometimes be hard to do. If you're not going to follow through with what you've said, then you should not have that as a rule. Instead, consider something like a rule of I can share the instruments. That's just making a statement of an expectation of how students behave. When students are not sharing, you can remind them, remember, we have the expectation of I can share the instruments. If students can't share the instruments or won't share the instruments, then they should have a natural consequence. Here are some examples of how you can respond to student behaviors. Billy, you played when I asked for rest position, so I will hold your mallets now. This is not telling Billy that he did anything horrible. It's helping him with self-control. You can just quickly hold on to his mallets and you can give them back pretty quickly. You don't need to hold on to them forever. You don't need to get angry about it. You can just state you were not following the expectation and a natural consequence is that their mallets would be removed. Susan, you were running instead of dancing, so you need to take a break at the rest area during our next movement activity. This tells Susan that the choices that she was making were not being safe and they were not participating appropriately, so they're going to have a timeout and miss out on the next activity. Josh, you were not following the expectations for how to remove the bars on our new glockenspiels. You can play our old instruments for now instead. Hopefully you've got something like that around, or you can use a paper xylophone or something that just gives them a little bit of a rest. With recorders, you can have them take their head joint off, or I have a little plastic recorder without just the bottom of it without a head joint on it so that they can still practice the fingerings, but they're not doing what they're not supposed to be doing. Penny, you weren't participating in our game. What question do you have about how to play? A lot of times students' behaviors are because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So if there's a way that you can get in there and figure out why it is that they aren't doing something correctly, it could just be that they don't know and they need reteaching. When we are talking about our expectations, try to word them positively and follow through with those natural consequences. For most student behavior issues, you should be able to administer the consequence in your own class. Don't expect another teacher to follow through with your issues on their time. For that reason, I don't like to say things like you're going to miss out on recess or you need to complete this activity when your class has their free time. That's not going to work very well. I don't want other teachers to be asking me to do things with my students during my time, so I should not be expecting them to take care of my business on their time either. Remember, a consequence doesn't have to last long to be effective. You can take away someone's mallets just while giving instructions, or just for one try of playing something before giving them another chance. Here is a big one. Do not get into a power struggle with a student, especially when it's in front of their peers. Have a few things ready to go that the rest of the class can do on their own if needed. I typically have some videos pulled up or ready to go that are like a brain break activity that the students know how to do so that if I need to, I can talk to a student privately. You need to stay calm. Don't get heightened. Remember, you are working with a child. Move down to their level, preferably seated, so that you can talk to each other eye to eye. Consider offering them a choice. You can have a break here at the rest area, or you can use the take a break pass and take a walk in the hallway to cool down. Come back when you're ready to learn. Of course, if all else fails, or if you are concerned for the safety of anyone in the room, you should call the office for assistance. Smooth transitions are really important and helpful in keeping your class running smoothly and keeping kids from trying to get away with unwanted behaviors. Do your best to eliminate downtime and keep transitions within the lesson smooth. That requires having a solid lesson plan where you know what you're doing and you know what you're doing next. Create a system that works for you to stay on track. For me, it's Google Slides. I've included a link in the handout for a blog post that I wrote about how to use Google Slides and how to set them up to keep things running smoothly. You can do this with other systems too. Just find something that works for you that's easy to keep on track. When we have so many different grade levels and lessons coming through, it sometimes is hard to remember. So if you've got something built that keeps you on track, that really helps you and your students know what's coming next. Make your expectations clear. You should always have a backup plan ready. I typically have a few copies of a related worksheet that covers the same material that I can have a student complete in the office or in one of my teammates' classrooms if they can't handle doing an activity with their classmates. This is especially important on lessons that are very exciting or that are out of the ordinary from what the kids are used to. You really want to make sure that they know what's happening, they know what the expectations are, so that they aren't interrupting with questions about that when you're trying to do the activity or getting off of what the expectations are themselves. Having a rest area in the classroom or a take a break pass is a great way to help kids who are having trouble self-regulating. You can have this set up so that students can just move to the rest area without being in trouble and take a few minutes to calm down, or to ask if they can take a break and they can take a walk in the hall without being in trouble. Here you can see the take a break passes. We put these on lanyards. Every classroom had one, and we would just write on the pass, it was a laminated pass, what time they left the room. And then if a teacher saw them in the hallway with the take a break pass, they knew they weren't in trouble and they didn't give them a hard time about being out in the hallway. This has been really helpful for our students because oftentimes they felt like they were being targeted or that they were in trouble if they were going to the office for a break. So taking a break and just being allowed to walk in the hallway, go to the big drinking fountain, things like that really seems to help them be able to self-regulate and get ready to learn again. So now we're going to talk about a clear and easy to use system for keeping classes on top of their own behavior. I'm going to explain my reward system evolution, our mystery musician, the 3-note plan, let me see your gong, and some reward options. So my reward system evolution. When I started teaching, I was really proud of this rockin' behavior guitar that I made. I saw a post about it somewhere on the internet, and it's been almost 20 years, so I can't remember where I found that. Apologies if I'm not crediting somebody here. But I recreated this and had every homeroom teacher's name on a little clip or on a little Velcro dot and moved them up and down based on how they did during class. I've also had years where I did sticker charts or I did tallies that were like strikes. All of this was just a pain to manage. Sticker charts got filled in at different times, making planning challenging, or students' classrooms got up to the top and earned a reward at different times. And that was really difficult to plan my lessons when people were getting rewards all at different times. Having strikes didn't allow for positive reinforcement of the behaviors that I wanted. Sometimes my unified art team did competitions to see which class had the best behavior over a certain time period, a month or a quarter, and they really weren't fair. We had years when all of our second grade classes were amazing and only one class won, but our sixth graders weren't so great and someone still won. And it just didn't feel fair to like those second graders that all could have earned the reward. Having class rewards and agreeing on what they are is challenging, and implementing the rewards is time-consuming. We have so far fewer minutes with our students than they have in their homeroom classes. I don't want to give that up for reward time that isn't connected to what we're doing in our curriculum. So the system I use now streamlines things. It stops keeping track of points over time and just focuses on what's happening in the class that day. We start off each class by choosing a mystery musician. I have my attendance sheet that has everybody's name and a specific column for mystery musician. And we do this chant while I bring my pencil around and around on my printed list so I can figure out who will be the mystery person. So we all say together, round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. At that point, I give 2 clues about who the mystery person or mystery musician is. And that could be something that they're wearing, maybe what color hair they have. The little ones love it if I say something about missing teeth. Just something that can be a clue that does not eliminate very many students. I try to make it as generic as possible so that a lot of kids think that it could be them. Here's an example. This is something that I have printed out, so I don't do this on the computer while I'm keeping track, but I would just write in on the mystery musician column what date the student is the mystery musician. This was my sheet before I was starting the 3rd quarter last year, and I was just I typed in the numbers because kids often will ask me, well, what day was I? I never was it. But I always have it written down there so that I've got that information to tell them. And then I just keep on going. So by the end of the year, I can see that everyone has had their turns, an equal number of turns. During this 3 notes plan, I have the ability to reward the whole class as well as individual students. So I use my 3 notes that you see here on the left of the screen for class-wide tracking. And then I also have a whiteboard that's hanging on the wall by my door for individual points. This is for our school-wide system. We use PBIS rewards to track our points. And I just tell a student, oh, I love how you are being respectful to your classmate and listening while they're talking. You can go give yourself a point for respect. And they would go write their name on the board, and I'd put it into our app later in the day. So my 3 notes are hanging on the whiteboard at the front of the classroom. As we are going through class, everyone starts with 3 notes, which is equal to 3 points. If I notice students doing something great, I will compliment them and move a note up. So that becomes a bonus note, and now they have 4 points. This can happen more than once. Here, they have 5 points due to the 2 bonus notes. So it's always the 3 that we started with plus the number that's above the board. But if students aren't doing their best, they can also lose notes by moving one down. So this shows what having 2 notes or 2 points looks like. But what if we earn more than 3 bonus notes? It is rare, but it has happened. I just move one up and turn it upside down even higher than the others. So this would equal 7. That's the original 3 plus 3 bonus notes plus 1 more bonus note above that. Here's where the fun comes in. At the end of class, all students receive 4 reward points, and the mystery musician gets to play these notes on our gong. I also make sure to, especially in the younger classes, go over what a gong is very clearly at the beginning of the year. We spell it, we chant it. I've had some students go home and say some things that were not appropriate that they were hitting in music class, maybe changing the first letter of gong to the letter B or D. And that was not something I wanted students to go home saying. So we definitely made sure they all know how to spell gong, G-O-N-G. It starts and ends with the same sound. Kids don't know why I get so excited about spelling that word, but they do it with me. So if your students don't, or if your school doesn't have a school-wide point system, that's okay. You don't have to do this. But if they do, try to work within the school system with Class Dojo or PBIS Reward or tickets or whatever. If your school doesn't have the system, or if it's too time consuming, if you have to write students' names on all the tickets or something, just don't do that part. It's fine. They'll get excited about playing the gong. No big deal. If you need to do your own rewards, here are a few ideas of reward options that I've done in the past that didn't take too long and didn't cost anything. You could choose your seats for a day. You could bring a stuffy to music. And I've got a big basket of Beat Buddies. They could just take one of those so they don't have to bring something from home. Sock feet in music, just take your shoes off. A PJ day for just that class. Trick the teacher was always funny. They would pretend that they had a horrible day and they got in trouble, and we would throw all the notes on the floor and make their teacher think they were in trouble, when they, of course, weren't. You could also brainstorm a few ideas at the beginning of the year and use that list to work from as the year progresses. So now we're going to talk about some big picture ideas to implement outside of your classroom that can impact what happens inside your classroom. This will include working with your own team, becoming a building leader, and creating new class lists for your arts classes. So as far as working with your team, with the PE and library and art and whoever else is on your team for related arts or unified arts or specials, you want to implement similar systems and try to have similar expectations when students come to your classes. It's usually at the same time of day that they go, and so if they're in a routine that has a lot of similarities, that's going to help everybody. Become a building leader. Be active in your school community outside of music to build rapport with your colleagues. Go to after-school events. Volunteer for leadership roles. Be a problem solver. Eat lunch with your colleagues. When you are a big part of the school team, big ideas are more likely to be accepted. Here is where the magic happens. Make your own class lists for your unified arts classes. Work as a team and use your knowledge of the students to build class lists based on their behaviors and personalities. Warning, this might mean you have to do things differently to make it work conveniently for your colleagues. For example, in my school, we go and pick up our students in their homerooms. Since we're mixing up all the kids from all the different homerooms, the homeroom teachers didn't want that to be their responsibility. And then at the end of our classes, we take the kids back to the gym. The PE teacher stays in and monitors them until the homeroom teachers come back to pick them up, and they're able to divide up into their homeroom classes that way. So here's what we did. We create names for each group. We change ours up each year to go with our school theme. This year's theme was dogs, so we went with bulldogs, Labradors, hounds, and Dalmatians. This way, none of the reputations from last year's groups carry forward. Just be careful with what you pick. You don't want anything that might cause kids to get picked on. We avoided the terriers and also the dachshunds, also known as wiener dogs, for example. Now let's take a look at how to easily create So now we'll look at how we actually created our list. The first thing we did was go through and highlight the names of students who had special considerations. This would be any student that was on an IEP or 504, maybe that has medical issues, maybe that has behavior issues, or someone that has an aide that comes with them, anything that would cause them to have special consideration about which group they might be in. After we got all of the class, went through the lists of all the homerooms and got everyone highlighted, then we went through the students that were highlighted first and divided them up into the groups. We tried to make sure that we were picking students who were going to be more compatible with each other and dividing things up to spread out behaviors that we didn't want to see. We found a lot was around some of our students who are really competitive, trying to spread that out, especially for PE. After we have all of the highlighted names spread out, then we would go to the rest of the students and add them into all of the different classes until we got it completely finished. Here we have the way to make new class lists for the teachers to use. We are going to use the same document that we started with, and we will link to the spreadsheet. So I've created a new Google slide that has a copy of the schedule of what color day each group had their different specials. Then I'm going back to the spreadsheet and just selecting the columns, and I'm going a few lines below the number of students we have so that I'm able to easily add students to the class if we have new kids move in. I do this for each of the groups that we have and put them into the Google Slides document. The beautiful thing about doing this is that we are able to do updates from the master spreadsheet and have it automatically update in this document that the teachers will have access to. So we'll see that now. If I'm going to have a new student, if I go back into that class and that document and refresh it, it's going to show me that there is an update. You can see the circle arrow there, and you just click on update and it added in that new student. We created hallway signs with the same pictures as the classroom document so kids could easily find the right place to go in the hallway. We also practiced coming to the correct place together each day and how to come into the gym and sit in the appropriate spot with their homeroom to get picked up after our classes were over. Today we have covered reducing unwanted behaviors through engaging lessons and clear expectations, a clear and easy to use system for keeping classes on top of their behavior, and a big picture idea to implement outside of your classroom that can impact what happens inside your classroom. Thank you so much for watching. To celebrate our virtual conference, my entire TPT store is 20% off. This sale is good July 18th through 21st, 2024. I also have my Etsy store set up with a coupon code RENEW24 to receive 15% off $20 or more, and that is also good July 18th through 21st, 2024. Be sure to visit our exhibit hall where you'll find links to some of the best resources the music crew has to offer, along with the PD certificate for attending our conference. Stay tuned. You just saw Chrissy Hutzel, and now we've got Elizabeth Caldwell coming up. She is going to share about making learning targets useful, and I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. After a break, we'll also hear from Melissa Engstadt, from Beth's music classroom, and from Sally Utley. We also have sessions tomorrow and Saturday, so make sure you come back to see those. Especially, stay tuned for Kelly Parrish's session on board game fixer-uppers, spotting musical potential in non-musical games. She and I are teaming up to give away a copy of one of my games from my Etsy store, which you'll learn more about at her session on Saturday. Special thanks to the music crew, to the Michigan Kodai educators for helping with sketches, to Kelly at Rhythmically Yours for working with me and giving away a game, and to West Music for supporting this conference by offering free shipping to our attendees.